Welcome back, folks. We got part 4 to my Battle of Brandywine, using GMT's Great Battles of the American Revolution. And this is the top of turn 3. And if you saw the last episode, we rolled initiative and found that the British are the initiative player. They go first in turn 3. And I've already placed their reinforcements on the map. Of course, that's done before there's any movement. And they have a nice stack here. This is the 3rd Brigade under Gray. Decent infantry and artillery will be coming up here. And also, over here, we got some more artillery, in this case, some Tories. We also have Fraser's Highlanders coming on in point A, right up that road there, where Kniphausen originally entered the battlefield. And that's what's coming on for the British. They will be moving up shortly. Right here, we've got the Army morale track. I didn't mention this in the last part of the video series, but this is the current situation. The Americans, the Patriots, are down to 17. The British are up at 221. I think they were down here at one point, but managed to get back up there at 21. So they're in a firm, high morale. Things are looking good for the British. Not so much for the Patriots. They're slowly whittling down in morale. But this mostly is influenced by combat results. And we did have some combat over here on the right, with Kniphausen taking those heights up there, forcing the Patriot light infantry off that position, forcing their horse to also withdraw, and actually disrupting one of the units, which is right there. So Kniphausen is doing fairly well here with his initial forces. And of course, we've got Stern's 2nd German Brigade, which is in reserve position. I'm holding back with them. I eventually want to get them all on the road so we can advance quickly up the Chad's Ford and really assault that position. And like I said, this turn they will be getting some extra artillery, including Fraser's Highlanders as reinforcements, and also Gray will be coming up this road at point B to support Grant. Grant is currently on his way to take positions up here to the east, to the west side of the Brandywine Creek. We want to take control of that ridge line, do some artillery, counter battery fire, and shooting at the enemy positions if we can. And that'll be a distraction and hopefully provide some support for the main attack later on in turn 7, when Howe arrives and I commit my reserve force, I'm going to hold back, including the Germans, to attacking at Chad's Ford, which is up here. And ideally we want to take this position where Wayne is located. It's Proctor's Battery. We want to take that, and thus deprive the Americans of a decisive victory, or at least the potential for a decisive victory at the end of the battle. So that's the goal there. And again, Gray is coming on with some relatively decent troops. He's got some artillery. He's got a 4 in there. 3. They're mostly 3s and 4s. There's a 2. They're going to come up and support Gray. Some of them will be in reserve. Some of them will occupy the position up there along that ridge, as I mentioned Grant will be doing. Grant is also making a move at this ford over here. I believe that's Brennan's Ford? Brennan's Ford, or Britton's Ford. I can't spell that. What is that? B-R-I-N-T-O-N-S. Brinton's Ford. All right. This is a primary ford, and he wants to take this. Just a little diversion in a way, because it might prove useful later on in the battle if we want to shift forces across here. We'll see. It's definitely a strong American position here with the breastworks. As far as the Americans are concerned, they're currently building up a force up here under Sterling. This is all part of Sullivan's wing. He's got quite a few troops here amassing, including artillery, some cav, and they're going to be moving along the Wiley Road later on in the battle, probably around turn 4 or 5, to occupy this position here, Birmingham Hill and the Birmingham Meeting House, because Americans need to hold on to Birmingham Meeting House as well as Proctor's Battery at the end of the battle. If they do so, no British occupy those hexes, they will secure a decisive victory at the end of the battle. Again, the battle's 12 turns. So I'm going to make a move on there, and the army is restricted to their bivouac area, which I covered in earlier episodes. It's marked by this perimeter. They can't move out of it. The exception, of course, is Maxwell's force, which is already out of it. They're on the other side of the Brandywine. And they have a separate deployment area and a restricted area, and they can't move out of that, although at this point they could move back across the Brandywine, which I don't intend to do. By turn 6, Patriots will be able to move everything out of that bivouac area. Otherwise, I can attempt to move them out earlier, as early as turn 4, which is the next turn. I can do so, but I give up victory points to the British. So I might be willing to do that. In fact, I'm planning on it. So I'm going to break these guys out under Sterling around turn 4 or 5 and head down that road in anticipation for setting up a defense against Howe's arrival. Again, along this road, the Widow Davis House. Forks Road, it's called. Interesting names. Love this map. It's fantastic. So yeah, folks, that's the situation. Now, again, British are up first. They're going to move. They're going to fight and all that. Patriots will be able to use their cannon for defensive fire purposes. And then we're going to go into the Patriots' turn. And they're going to get some reinforcements, as you can see over there on the left. Green will be arriving, along with that big stack of mostly 1s and 2s. I'm not sure if there's any 3s in here. There is. I see them. They'll be coming along up there. Point E, which is the ring road. So he's going to be entering play from there. It's green properly, or proper. And so yeah, that's the situation. I'll get into the tactics for the Patriots when I get to their turn. I am thinking about a few options about releasing green early to cross the Brandywine. Again, I'd give up victory points to do that. And I covered that earlier in the earlier part of this series of games. I'm not going to go into detail with it here, what my options are. But this is the situation. Top of turn 3. British have initiative. I'm about to bring on the reinforcements. And I'll show you how that goes and where the initial combats are going to occur. All right, the British have moved onto the battlefield. Again, top of turn 3. Some quick notes on changes and shifts. Basically, Gray took over command here on this little attack from Grant. So now Gray is now occupying this. And I also have 2 units here launching this little quick attack. That's because he's a better commander. He's more suited to this type of task. Try and take out this unit here, push back the enemy, and gain control of this ford. So there will be a fight here. Also on this side, you can see the rest of Gray's 3rd Brigade have advanced forward. Got some cannon back here, amassing. And it'll be kind of a reserve, but I will be using some of his forces to fill in the gaps here. I'm just out of artillery range of the Patriot guns, except this battery of cannon, I believe. So there will be some defensive fire by the Patriots from this position, at least. They're 3 hexes away, and they can see each other. They're both on high ground. And I did a little shifting of the German brigade down here. Again, I'm holding back with them. They're not going to be attacking anywhere at this point. I'm just making some room here. Like I said, getting a little crowded. My fault, but that's okay. Also, we're going to finish off this unit of light infantry here. Kniphausen is leading the charge with his forces over here. So, yeah. Pulled back the Queen's Rangers. They're now protecting these guns. Not that there's any real threat, but these 3 regiments will be finishing these guys off, including Ferguson's rifles. I'm going to shoot with them, see what happens here. And hopefully we'll take up this position on the right, because I am somewhat concerned. I don't want a counterattack by the Patriots coming across the Brandywine, threatening the whole endeavor for the attack on Chad's Ford. So yeah, this has become more important at this point for the British. And we're going to prep our assault on Maxwell's position. He is pretty tight in here. He's behind some breastworks, some unit of light infantry. He's not a very good commander. He has no combat bonus to the combats. It's a 0. But nonetheless, he is there. Tactics cards can be used. Unless there's a special rule that says he can't, and I don't think there is. So yeah. But Kniphausen, he's got batteries here, he's got batteries here, and he's going to let off some artillery fire in the defensive fire phase of the Patriots' turn. So I'm anticipating that before we make the big attack. In other words, I'm in no big rush here to force things. I'm building up. I'm not anticipating any immediate threats from the Americans at this point. We've got them on the run on this side. So yeah. So that's the situation. And now, with that finished, we're going to do some combats. And I'm going to show you the results of that, as well as the results of the defensive artillery fire and the rifle fire regarding Ferguson's unit over here. He's the only rifle unit I see that can shoot this turn. So I can give you the results of that in a second, folks. Hang in there. All right, finish the combats. And this is the results so far. We'll start over on the left. Of course, Gray's attack here to take this position, this primary ford, was not entirely successful. There's only one Patriot unit remaining in this hex defending the ford. It is the 3rd Marylanders, and they held their ground. They were not the lead unit in this combat. The lead unit was actually captured, and I'll show the capture box in a second here. So in that respect, the British were successful. They captured an enemy unit. This unit here remained in place, however. The guns were forced to withdraw, retreating disrupted, actually, as a failed morale check. So yeah, there is that. The guns fell back. Also, this artillery did fire into this square as well, and it was ineffective. In fact, as far as all the artillery and rifle fire that took place, it was all ineffective. There was no results for either side. Ferguson's did not do any positive results with that. There's also a rifle unit here, and they also fired. And let me see, did they do anything? I don't think so. No, there was no effect of that. No, you know what did happen? The British took a AM -1 to their army morale, and that dropped their army morale from 21 down to 20. But you'll see that this is back up to 21 currently. So there was that. The rifle fire here for the Patriots was successful, and then it dropped the army morale of the British by 1, and that was about it. And then the combat was fought, and you can see the situation currently. So British did not get across, but they substantially weakened the defenders. The only other combat to take place was over here, again with Kniphausen's force engaged, and it was pretty overwhelming. I think the odds were at max once again. These guys were here. There was a unit here, and this combat was successful for the British. They advanced into the position, and you'll notice that the unit is no longer there for the Patriots because it as well was captured. And the capture box is way up there. And I won't have to zoom on that. Needless to say, there's 3 units in there that have been captured, including a militia unit for the Patriots. So we captured some more rebels and took the position. And Ferguson and the Royal Welsh Fusiliers did advance into this woods hex previously occupied by the defenders. So that is the situation. Again, the defensive artillery for the Patriots and all the rifle fire, which, incidentally, I don't think I mentioned this, rifle fire is simultaneous for both sides. I don't think I mentioned that before. But yeah, all of that was for naught. It was ineffective. And now we're going to go into the Patriots' turn with close combat phase for the British completed. And you can see that one stack up there. That is green. And he's on his entry hex. He has a ton of units there, including some artillery. Basically, I want him to kind of fill in the gaps that are occurring on the left here, where Sullivan's forces are kind of thinning out. In fact, the British are making a run for that position here and trying to get across. So it's a little bit of a concern. Sullivan can see this action as it takes place from this little high ground here that is behind some works. So he might need some troops down there. Might be a little concerned. We'll see. I'm going to think about that. And what I'll do is I'll show you the rest of this turn, the results of it, where I go with green and what happens next. But needless to say, I'm pretty much going to continue with my plan of getting these guys in position to go this way in turn 4, possibly turn 5, but I'm thinking turn 4. I'm going to have to do something here. I'm not sure. I don't want to lose this ford, to be honest with you. So I might reinforce this position. Also, I want to bring Green's troops in, of course, bring them in this way. I want to kind of shift more troops in this direction to reinforce Sullivan, because like I said, his line is thinning out here as some of his forces under Sterling are amassing in preparation to head down Wiley Road to get to the Birmingham Meeting House. So that will be a concern. One other thing I'm debating is what I am going to do over here at Brandywine Creek on this side for Maxwell. Technically, I could withdraw Maxwell entirely from that position on the west side of the Brandywine Creek. But if I do so, I can't bring him back across again until the army's released. But the other option I have is some of, well, Green's army can be released early by a turn in this case to cross the Brandywine, and I could support him right now and maintain this position we have over here for the Patriots, which it's tempting to do so. I'm thinking about it. Like I said, if I can, this is the British right flank. Jeopardizing this is going to be of great concern for the British. They don't want that to happen. And right now they're just running over the light infantry that are defending for the Patriots over here. I'm thinking about going across. I don't know if I could spare a lot. I might just send them across anyway. But I will be giving up a victory point to do it now. If I wait another turn, turn 4, I can do it without giving up any victory points. So I might do that. If Maxwell can hold out one more turn, I'll send those troops across, because I think it's a feasible plan to defend that side of the creek from the western side, basically around Maxwell's position. This is nice high ground and everything. It's going to constantly be a threat and a thorn in the side of the British. They want to get to the Chad's Ford. Obviously, if they can't get there this way, by direct route across that road, or pike rather, they're going to have to cross the river itself. And that's not a great position to be in for the British. So we'll see. That's the plan, and I'm going to go through this and show you guys the results of this and what I choose to do regarding Green's force over here, whether or not I'm going to cross them now or wait. So let's get to that and show you guys what happens. And before I get into that, I just want to mention one more thing. You'll notice the British have 2 momentum chits at the moment. And that was a result of, I think it was Kniphausen's combat up here. I think he rolled pretty high again. He scored pretty high anyway. I think he got an 11 on his roll. And well, let me look real quick. I know what odds it was. It was 4-1. And he got a 11? Well, that wouldn't be him. That would be 2-step loss. No, actually it would be, because he would get a chit for that. But I don't think that was the result, -2. I think it was a 10 result. Needless to say, somewhere it was either that combat or this one here. Substantial die roll of 10 plus. Earned another momentum marker for the Brits. So just want to point that out. They now have 2. The Americans have none. So the British are really kicking butt. All right, folks, let's get into the Patriots. All right, finish the movement and rally phases for the Patriots. And the Army morale. I did get 2 successful rallies of disrupted units, so this would actually go up 2 as well for that. You'd, if you rally a unit from disruption, this goes up 1 for each, so it's back up to 18. And being down 16 was pretty bad. So yes, they're back up to 18. There's still high morale, considering everything that's going on here. Movement wasn't really too much. You could see this artillery did rally from its disruption. I did move this unit into a position. He was over here. He come down off the heights. He's going to kind of help reinforce this position. I don't really want to give a foothold to the British, and maybe even distract them a little bit by being a tough nut to crack. We'll see. Maybe they'll commit more troops to this little attack that they're doing there. So there's that. What else? I think Green, yeah, Green came on. He's basically didn't do a whole lot. He's located in this stack here with a bunch of the units he came on with from here. And he's currently on the pike. And right behind his forces, actually. He did get his rifle troops, again, using the pike for strategic movement. And one other unit, strength 3 unit, up to this position here. The Widow House, is that what it's called? Widow Chad House. All right. So he's right behind Wayne's position. I know it's hard to see. Let me come up a little bit. Kind of get a downward look at what's going on here. Yeah. that's the situation. So Green came on with his troops, and they're basically located in this stack and right here. He's got some rifles in here and a strength 3 infantry unit as well. I also shifted some troops here. I pulled these guys forward. 9th Virginia. They went from this square, or hex rather, into here, reinforcing that unit in anticipation of crossing. And as you can see, I have decided not to cross the Brandywine Creek with Green's wing at this point. I don't want to give up any more victory points. I think the British are at 2.5, and the Americans are at 1/2 victory point so far. But yeah, we don't want to do that. We'll wait another turn. Turn 4 is next. No reinforcements for either side in turn 4. And that's about it. Point out one other thing. This unit down here, located in a place called the Dungeon Bottom. There's an entry point here as well, number C. You can just see it right there. There'll be some forces coming on there later on in the battle, but there is a unit, the Delaware Blues. They're basically stuck here at Jones Ford. They can't move. I think the requirement for them to move is they have to be approached by British or Patriot forces. I think 2 hexes away or something. When that happens, they can move at that point. Otherwise, they're stuck guarding this ford and basically don't really know what in the world is going on. They probably hear some musketry fire in the distance. But yeah, so there's those guys. So that's the situation. I'm going to go into the defensive fire for the British. The British are going to fire with their artillery, defensively basically. And then we're going to go into the rifle shooting phase, again, simultaneous for both sides, and then the close combat phase for the Patriots. And that will end turn 3, and I'm going to show you the results of that in a moment here. All right, let's do a little quick update here. I did get through the defensive fire for the British, and I also did the rifle fire, which there was none. Yeah, there was artillery going on down here, I think. No, I'm looking at the wrong spot. Where was it? Defensive fire for the British. They had 2 cannon, or 1 cannon, located here. Strength 2. They did do some fire on the enemy artillery up here. It was ineffective. And we go further over this direction. However, the British also had 2 cannon here, 2 batteries. They totaled their firepower, firing on the same hex target. They were firing at this New Jersey battery, located at Maxwell's position up on the heights, and did get a retreat result. His guns were forced out of the breastworks, and they are now back here behind him, being supported by a Pennsylvania State foot. So, yeah, his guns withdrew from that position here, under some intensive fire by the British guns. And I believe that was all the defensive artillery for the British. The defensive artillery fire. So, yeah, there was no rifle fire. Next is close combats, and as you can see, there really isn't any except one spot, and it's right there. So this has to be resolved. We got Gray continuing his assault with 2 regiments of foot, the 5th and 10th, going up against the 3rd Maryland. And they're still holding their own. It's a strength 1 against a strength of 5. So this is going to be another overwhelming attack. However, there will be a penalty for attacking across a ford. So the Patriots do have that as an advantage. So I'll give you the results of that in a second here. All right, so that's that. You can see what happened already. Again, really good die roll for the British. And I have to say the British are rolling quite well throughout the battle so far. They gained another momentum that puts them at 3 so far, as you can see, because their score was a 10 or greater. And yeah, they worked their way across. They actually captured the enemy unit that was sitting there. Which, where was he? Here he is right here. He was captured. So the Marylanders held right to the end and ended up getting captured. So that's another victory point for the British. In addition, that will affect the Army morale as well. Whoops, sorry about that. And now it's back down to 17. I think I moved that. Yeah, I think it was up here. Well, they just lost another one. It should be at 17. So that's the situation there. That combat was effective. Gray has advanced across the ford. It is essentially captured. So the British have access to an easy crossing point along the Brandywine Creek, at least on this side of the battlefield. So an option has opened up for the British. We'll see what I do with that in the coming turn for the British. And there was no other combats. That was it. So that's the situation, folks. Turn 4 is next. And as you can see, turn 4 is located right here. I'm going to roll initiative for you guys. And we're going to put this right in the middle, or at the top at the moment. There's no reinforcements for either side. Also, Green's wing can now cross that Brandywine Creek area. So he can do that at this point. Also, this is the point at which I'm thinking about giving up 2 victory points to release the entire army altogether. So I'm going to think about that, and I'll get into that in the next part of this battle with you guys, part 5. Tell you what decisions I'm going to make with that. And yeah. But first, folks, it's time for, yep, you guessed it, initiative time. I put this guy in the captured pile. It's 4 units of Patriots captured. Imagine that. We're going to roll initiative here. And let me think. All right, here's what I'm going to do. Since I have 3 momentum chips for the British, I am going to spend one here for initiative. Now, again, we're at the top of turn 4 here, and we're about to determine initiative. Now, by spending a chip here, now the Americans have no momentum chips, but the British have 3, and I'm going to spend one for the British to get a +2 to their initiative roll. So each spending of 1 gives you a +2 to the initiative roll. There's other ways to use them as well, like if you spend 3, I believe, you dictate who goes first. There's no die roll, I think. I'll have to double check that. But in this case, we're just going to add the 1, and both sides will also add +1 to their initiative because they're in high morale for their armies, as you can see down here. But the British will get a +2 on top of that. So +3 for them, +1 for the Patriots. Basically, the British want to get the jump here on the Patriots and go first. They want to get across that creek, take advantage of that, move their troops into position before the Patriots can react. So, 8 + 1 is 9 for the Patriots. 7, 8, 9, 10 for the British. So, yeah, if I got my math right, it was +3 for the British. They get a +2 for the momentum, +1 for the high morale. That's +3. So they're at 10. Patriots scored a total of 9. They only get a +1 for the high morale of their army. So, yes, the British do have initiative going into turn 4. This chip will be put back in the pool of originally 5 chits. So they still have 2 left. All right, so there you go, folks. That is the situation so far. The British are going into turn 4 with initiative. They will go first. Yeah, basically you're going to capitalize on this position I've just captured. I don't know if I'm going to move out of here. There will be a combat here. He's got some guns unprotected. I would like to capture them. So I'm going to see if I can do that. But I don't want to get too aggressive here and get myself out of position. I might support this attack, send over a regiment or 2. We'll see what happens. But primarily, I want to get Grant's forces on that ridge, and they're pretty much there. If I go any closer with my foot, they're going to suffer fire from the Patriots' cannon. So I don't want to get right to the ridge. Right now, we're in a good position. Reserve is back here with the Germans and some of these units. So I'm overall happy with this. But the real thing I want to do, and this is why I wanted initiative, is I want to jump on this situation over here on the right with Kniphausen in Maxwell's position. Still don't know what I'm going to do with the Americans, if they're going to... Well, actually, it's turn 4. So yeah, Green's forces can literally cross the Brandywine now. And get involved in the action. Of course, I might actually use Sullivan to release the entire army if I give up 2 victory points. And this was the original plan, so they'd be able to cross anyway. But this, my friends, especially for the Patriots, is where the battle is going to begin in earnest. I think. And for the British, going first is pretty important to me at this point because I really want to push forward quickly before this position can be reinforced. I want to get Maxwell off that defended hill position. I forced his guns back, so he's just up there with a unit of light infantry behind those breastworks. I've got plenty of guns in range, blamming away at him. And on the right of those guns, and protecting those guns as well, I have lots of infantry, British infantry, that are ready to advance on that position. Of course, I have to watch out for his now rallied and non-withdrawing cavalry and infantry back here. So I got to kind of begin to push on them as well. But mainly I want to take Maxwell's position out, and we're going to see that in the next turn. Well, turn 4. And that's about it. So there you go, folks. Another episode, another turn finished. And we're going to go into the next episode with the British once again with initiative. Thanks to some momentum use. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your comments, what you think. And let's see if I release the army for Sullivan early in turn 4. Of course, I gave up 2 victory points. I think that'll put the British at 5.5 victory points to 1/2 victory point for the Americans. That's not a good position. But the battle has to go to the distance, and that would be for a marginal victory to occur. A substantial victory, which is better, occurs from this. The opponent reaches 0. And of course, a decisive victory, which is what I'm aiming for both sides. Well, we talked a lot about that already. I won't go into it again here. We want to capture some positions or maintain our hold on some positions. And we're going to get into that in the next episode, which will be part 5. So stay tuned, folks. Hope you enjoyed. Hang in there. It's only going to get better, as always. You know it. Take care, folks.